Hello and welcome to another episode of the podcast, The Pocket Stylist. I'm Lisa Talbot, and today I'm super excited because I am joined by Michelle Ford, who has got the most amazing midlife entertainment podcast called Two Women Chatting. You've probably come across it, but I came across it a few months ago now, and I've loved listening to it. I've laughed while I've done my cleaning. I've listened to it while
Mhm.
I've walked the dog. So let me introduce you because we are going to talk some really good things to do with fashion, but also midlife and style, etc. So first of all, hello, Michelle. How are you?
Hi, Lisa. Hi. Thank you so much for having me. It's great
Yeah.
to be here.
Oh, you're welcome. I did get that title right, didn't I? Because your podcast is Two Women Chatting. If my listeners haven't heard about your podcast before, tell them a little bit about it and tell them some of the guests that you've had on because you have had this amazing array of guests. So tell everyone about your podcast first.
So classic start during COVID, when everybody was like, oh, what should we do? Let's start a podcast. I did that with my neighbor and friend, Liz Copping. So for 6 seasons, we pretty much 70 episodes, we evolved. We became this midlife platform that just talked to experts and celebrities. Um, Honestly, sometimes we can't believe the celebrities that we have got, which I'll mention if you like in a moment. But Liz has now left the show because very wisely, she listened to lots of the experts that we've had who said, get yourself life balance, think about what you want to do in this time of your life. Is this what you want to do? Do you want to reframe what you are and what you're about? And she's just turned 60. She's got a grandchild on the way. She loves golf and gardening. And honestly, as you know, Lisa,
Yeah.
podcasts don't just happen. It's an
Materialize.
enormous amount of work and it sort of takes over your life. So she has left and now I'm solo hosting, and it is both liberating and a little bit frightening because I've got no wing woman.
But it's really interesting because you always have a guest. So you will always be two women chatting or two or three women chatting or something like that, won't you, anyway?
Well, yes, you could really argue that our title was totally wrong before, because we did start out, Liz and I, it was just the two of them talking really about our new lives as empty nesters. And then I got brave and went up to Jenny Seagrove at an event I was at, and I said, fancy coming on our podcast that you've never heard of and is about, 3 listeners big? And she said, yes, of course I will. And it started from there, really. Once you had one lovely name, and Jenny was absolutely amazing, and we made lots of mistakes as we've learned. This is a whole new career in reinvention for both of us. Well, once we had Jenny, then Anthea Turner said yes, and Andrea McLean said yes, and even Judy Dench came on,
Yeah.
and Cherry Healy is my guest this week. So it has amazingly snowballed, and I've sort of lent into it and learned a lot along the way. So
Mm.
it's been a journey, but it is a lot of work, lots and lots and lots of hours, and my family have been incredibly supportive as I sort of become obsessed by the whole thing. But again, it is a midlife platform, but we don't just talk about menopause. I've
Yeah.
never gone down that track. Menopause is what all women will go through. It is just a part of us. We do get past it. It is not all negative. 1 in 5 women do have symptoms that are pretty debilitating, but there is light
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
end of the tunnel.
absolutely.
And that's what I want to focus on, is the positive things, and also just bringing information and subjects that are of interest to me because I'm in my 50s, and my friends, and actually my kids, because they will grow up and hit their 40s and 50s eventually. And forewarned is a wonderful thing. And it's not about, as I say, it's not about negativity. It's like, how about these ideas? Have you
Hmm.
considered this? And also, don't forget your bone health. This is what you should be doing in younger years to set yourself up for a great second half of your life. And we're all living longer. So midlife is just what it says on the box. It's halfway through, not halfway done. So
Yeah, yeah, I
I
love that.
bring, yeah, I hope I bring
And
some.
I love that. And I always remember something Joan Collins once said in an interview. This goes back years. She always said, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. And
Yeah.
I think, and I'm a massive thing about that whole midlife thing. I kind of struggle with that word a little bit. And purely because I don't think especially from a fashion and style perspective, I don't think style has an age limit. It doesn't say, look, once we get to a certain age, you have to dress a certain way. And that goes right through from whether you're a teen right through to, you know, your 80s. And I think that was why when you and I had a chat a couple of weeks ago, we kind of came up with the discussion for today more around fashioning yourselves into a new person. And what that kind of meant was fashioning, obviously, we played on the words a little bit, but very much about when you get to that stage in your life that if you've had children, your children have gone off and they're at uni, or they're, I don't know, they might have left home to go to a job or anything like that, to live abroad, there suddenly becomes that very important word, time. And that
Mm.
word time is something that we get given back, because I think as women, where, you know, if you have a family, a lot of your focus is around your family as you grow up, as you grow older, as you grow up, but as you grow older, because you're thinking, right, I've got to look after my family, I've got to make sure they're fed. Oh, I've still got to go to work. Oh, I'm married, or I'm a single parent. So
Mm.
this focus of on who you are as a person sometimes gets left a little bit behind.
Oh,
And
so much. You are so much lower on the scale of priority.
yeah, yeah.
Your kids come first, maybe your partner comes second. It's usually that order, isn't it? Your job, you know. And actually, as you get to this age as well, I mean, you say you get more time, but there's also aging parents who come into the picture
Mhm.
as well. And that can be a pull on your time. But you're absolutely right. You know, for years, we've run the kids to football and gymnastics, and we've put tea on the table at 6 o'clock, and we've checked their homework. And when they're going off to university, this is such a time of change for us. Yes, it can be really scary because we've got all this empty nest around us, and the bedrooms are emptying and the house is getting quieter. But as you just said, it is starting to get time back for ourselves, time back with our partners, time to refashion ourselves and maybe bring forward some of those latent things that we enjoyed when we were younger. Maybe there was a
Mhm.
hobby or a passion that we followed that we put on the back burner. You know, we don't have time for that, but now we do. Maybe it is time to look at our perimenopausal, menopausal, or postmenopausal bodies and think, do you know what? Maybe I could go for a walk today. Maybe I could add a daily walk to my life and meet friends, because that is also really important. You can, at this time in your life when your kids have gone, you're not stuck at the school gates
Mhm.
having to make nice with parents whose of friends of yours. You know, you can choose your friends. And I think that's very, very important to do, because I think you can very easily fall into historic friendships that don't really work for you anymore. So finding yourself and refashioning yourself into a more confident version of you that
Mhm.
suits that second chapter that you're about to go into, you've got a long time, hopefully. You've potentially got 30 years, 40 years. And so it's not the way of the world that it used to be, when you'd retire at 60 and you'd be, you know, kicking back at the bingo on a Tuesday night. We have now got decades to fill, and we need to fill it with health and vitality and confidence. And our relationships might change not only with our children as they become adults, and that is a wonderful, joyful thing, as they stop eye rolling you and they start having a conversation. That is just the most wonderful thing, but also with your husband or partner. You know, do you still have anything in common with each other when you're not talking about the children and chasing them everywhere at the weekend? You know, what do you put in place to make sure that you've still got interests that are together? Or is it that you don't particularly want to be with that person because you don't have anything in common? In which case, you're looking at yourself like, how am I changing? Do I want to wear neutrals for the rest of my life? Do I want to pop a color in my life? And that color can be through fashion, or it can be through changing parts of your life to go and get education, get a degree, learn a new language. You know, there's great evidence to suggest that learning new things in midlife and onwards is really helpful for cognition and, you know, preventing dementia potentially. So I talk a lot, but, you know, I think at this point, refinding yourself can be quite exciting.
And do you know what? I'm listening to you and I'm kind of nodding away because I do think it is exciting. I've got three children. So, for the listeners who know, I've got a much older one who's 35 and my twins are 20. The 35-year-old one is still local, he has his own business now. The twins, I've got one at uni, one who does a degree apprenticeship in London. But actually, that whole time thing, whereas when they were younger, we potentially as a family, my daughter is horsey, my son was horsey, we did different things. My husband wasn't a great horse fan, so we did different things. But now everything, the dynamics changed. And I even think about what, like you just said, the time perspective that you give each other back. My husband and I went for a walk around Windsor Great Park yesterday, you
Yeah.
know, together. Whereas before he'd have walked the dog, but now it's like, no, do you know what? We can. And then we'll stop off at a really nice local cafe and have breakfast. Or then we came back and we did the garden. And it sounds silly, doesn't it? But you look out, I looked at my garden this morning, I thought, oh my God, my mum was the gardener. I am not the kind of Alan Titchmarsh of where I live. But I thought, oh my God, look what we did together. And that's that thing, isn't it?
Mhm.
Together. But what's really interesting from, I suppose, my point of view, I see so many ladies whose wardrobe, as well as them, have taken the back burner. And they
Oh,
get, because they go, oh, well, I just put my jeans on, I just put my top on. But actually, now the majority of my clients are kind of your 47 plus ladies who have
mm,
got to that point and gone, no, do you know what? A, I have time. B, I want to dress to make myself feel confident, whether it be in a business environment or whether it's just a personal environment. And actually, there are some ladies whose clothes have sat in their wardrobe a very long time because they've
mm,
just rotated and rotated. But now they're like, but I don't really know who I am, Elisa. Who am I?
mm.
Because they've lost a little bit of who they are. And it's really exciting for them to suddenly go, oh my goodness, I could wear that, or I could wear that, or actually, I would never have worn that colour. And that's where I think sometimes, again, they have the time to almost invest in themselves. And I think that's really important as well, that we take the time to invest back in ourselves, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, we go through so many iterations of ourselves, don't we? Through our different decades, through our 20s and 30s and 40s. And yes, there will be some classic parts of your wardrobe if you're lucky enough to own some really good quality classic pieces. Yes, they should go with you for sure. But, as with fashion, we change. And, perhaps you don't want to get up and put your Lululemons on and drop the kids off at the school gate anymore. Perhaps it's time that you think, do you know what? I don't think I've worn a dress in a
Mm-hmm.
decade. Maybe I want to show my legs off because my legs are pretty good. Maybe I want to go on a date night with my husband and have him look at me and think, something different about you. Oh, you're wearing orange.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What is it about you? And it's Jenny Eclair described it. She was a guest on the show not so long ago. And two things she said really stuck with me. One is that you find a craft hormone when you get to our age. All of a sudden, there's this thing that is unleashed within you that makes you want to like stitch and poke and paint and do that lovely,
Yeah,
lovely
yeah,
aesthetic side of yourself. But also, as you come out of menopause, it is almost like coming out of a chrysalis.
yeah,
And she said not necessarily as a butterfly, possibly more as a moth. But that moth has wings, right? And
yeah,
it's time to sort of embrace that part of your life and the shape of your life that is different to the way it was before. And people say it all the time, you've got to accept yourself and love yourself. And it's very, very difficult to do that. But I think it's worth trying. I mean, I'm terribly critical of myself. But talking to some of the experts and celebrities that I've had on the show, Cherry Healey being one actually, who talked really candidly about her eating disorders when she was in her 20s. But now in her 40s, she's so grateful for the body that she has and the health that she has. And she says, I am going to say in front of my daughters, I am proud of my body. Hey, I look good today. I'm loving what I wear. I rocked it at some event that I did. And it's very hard, but I think if we can practice doing that, practice actually liking ourselves and finding perhaps a part of our body that we've covered up for a long time, that can be incredibly freeing, can't it?
Can
You
be
know,
incredibly.
showing those knees.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really empowering, I think. And we are all incredibly self-critical. And, I always say to clients, what you see in the mirror is not what everybody else sees, because you look and think, like exactly like you said, oh, my knees, or they might go, their hips, or they might think, I don't know, my nose looks too big today. Somebody
Mm,
else will say, I love your shoes. And that you'll
yeah.
be thinking, hang on a minute, why are you not looking at my knees? Because people don't see that. They see the person, they see who you are, they see your smile, they see your eyes, they see your face. And especially from my perspective as a stylist, it's very much trying to make ladies see that good part. And it's really hard because I've had ladies that refuse to look in the mirror, they can't look in the mirror. And
Mm,
that's really sad because that's, there's something there that is stopping them almost looking at themselves to see how wonderful they are, because we all have amazing qualities, we all do. And if you're wearing a Primark t-shirt and it makes you feel amazing, then wear a Primark t-shirt. But on the flip side, if you've got the budget to wear, I don't know, Whistles or Samso, then wear that too. But it's how you feel. And I think you're you're absolutely right. I think the menopause is one of those things that it gets spoken about a lot now, which is amazing. It's brilliant. And I think it's a really interesting thing, because I think sometimes I went through it, and actually now I've come out of it, do I know how horrendous I felt? But you don't know
mm.
that when you're in it, because sometimes you don't recognize it, do you?
It's a little bit like childbirth, isn't it? I mean, we often go back and have more children because we forget what it was like. And when you are out of that period of menopause, it is very liberating. And actually, we do develop this wonderful, I would call it the effort gene. The we just don't care anymore. We lose our filters, and the movement of ageism is never in style. I've got Jacinth Bassett coming on this series actually, and she has had 44 million views of her I Look My Age campaign. We
Mm-hmm.
should be so proud of the wrinkles that we sport or the
Absolutely.
scars on our bellies, and be proud of if we look a good 50 and we're healthy on the inside and the outside. Sounds trite, but my gosh, we're so lucky. We've been through a pandemic where most of us know of people who were
Yeah.
lost to COVID. So yeah, let's embrace the scars, embrace the wrinkles. Don't worry about the bat wings. Wear white if you want to in the middle of winter, white jeans. And I'm sure you would agree, because I know that you've talked about this on your podcast, that there is no fast and hard fashion rules about your age and what you're allowed to wear. We should all just break the mold and wear what we flipping well want to.
Mm-hmm.
If it makes us feel
100%.
good.
Absolutely, totally great. And I do have, and I've said it before, and I don't mind saying it again. I struggle with some of the influencers who are fashion at 40. What do you look like at 50? Because you're sticking an age limit to
Mm,
what somebody should look like. So, and I know they get great followers with regards to, this is how you should dress. This is how, but actually, every woman is individual. Every woman has a different personality. We all have a different shape. We all have what, some might be big busted, some might be small busted, but we all have an ability to look as we think we should look, how we feel, rather than how someone else thinks we should look. And I think that's something that really kind of does get me going, because I just think as an individual, you should be able to wear what you love, that makes you feel comfortable, that makes you feel confident, not
mm.
what you think someone thinks you should look at a certain age. And it's really interesting, isn't it? Because listen, I'm 54, and I do not intend to dress in a way that somebody thinks a 54 should look like. And actually, the question is, what should a 54 well look like? You know, should they not shop in H&M? Should they not? Should they only shop in, I don't know, a brand that is renowned for being slightly older? And what's really interesting, a lot of the brands as well, they don't want to label their clients and their customers with a label of we only suit the over 50s, for example, because every retailer wants their clothes to be worn by as many people as they can. And I think age is a real, for me, it's a real sticking point because style does not have an age limit. And
Yeah,
I shop with clients who say, oh, I can't go in there, Lisa, it's too young. Why not? You
mm,
might not buy your whole wardrobe in there, but you might buy a blazer. You might buy a pair of trousers in, I don't know, Saint and Sophia, but you might buy your shirt from Whistles. And I think that's another thing, isn't it? I don't know if you've seen it along the way. Ladies as well don't feel that they can spend money on themselves sometimes when they have a younger family. But actually, when we get back to this fashioning ourselves as a different person, suddenly there can be a little bit more surplus income. And it's really trying to educate ladies to say, you can spend a little bit more on yourself, but you have to kind of get out that mindset, don't you? Of no, I've always
totally.
bought for the
Yeah.
kids.
And you might well be going back to work. You might
Hmm.
be finding that you start a career again, or start an Etsy
Business.
shop.
Yeah.
You might find that you and some friend of yours want to start up a nutrition business or a yoga studio, or there's so many opportunities that we can do. And then yes, we might be putting some of our time into that, but then we are possibly getting more money coming in. And I think, and I'm not going to call it fashion, but I would call it style. I think it is so intrinsically wrapped up in our view of ourselves and our confidence that I always try, because I'm that go to the 20%, probably even like 10% of my wardrobe. But I have one outfit that I know I can put on and I feel great for the
Hmm.
day. And I have one outfit that is my go-to for the evening. And if I can't think of anything else, I know I've got those two outfits that makes me put my shoulders back. It's all about posture as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
The confidence, the posture, what you're wearing. People think you look great in it. Add a bit of red lippy and you're weaponizing yourself, really. And you can take on the world. So even if it is your armor, and that sounds a bit
Hmm.
like
No, no,
strong word, but
you just took the words out of my mouth then. Go on.
yeah, it is like when I've started to do public speaking events and things, I know that if I'm feeling like my shoulders are down, I'm wearing something that doesn't look so great on me and highlights the wrong things, already I'm at a disadvantage. So I would shop your wardrobe, get a stylist like Lisa, and find something that you've got a day and a night, and you're good to go for pretty
Hmm.
much everything for a while. And then when you know that that suits you, fits you, makes you feel amazing, copy it in another color or get
Mm.
something that's very similar, just to build up that confidence wardrobe. And it might be that you're starting work again and styles have changed. What people wore in your 20s when you were working in an office might be extremely different now.
So different now. And I think as well, you say everything's, since the pandemic, ladies that went back into the office, they're like, oh my goodness, what do I wear, Lisa? Because again,
Mm,
we had another complete shift, whether it was whether you had your own business, whether you worked for a large corporate, everything like that, because the whole landscape of the office environment changed. So ladies were like, oh, what do I wear? And again, it made them feel lacking in confidence because they didn't know what to wear. And some ladies, you're absolutely right. They start their own business. They might be meeting with investors. There's so much that women are amazingly, I think women are just amazing how flexible we are. We can do this, we change our mind, we do this, we could do that. We have this inbuilt ability to adapt when we need to. And from my perspective, it's having those clothes to support it. And and that's really interesting. I totally agree with you about the outfits that make you feel confident, because I think then I have an app called the Online Wardrobe, and basically I have the ability to create lookbooks for clients within them. And what's really interesting, the majority of the clients that are on there, there's like 300 clients sit on this online wardrobe platform. So they all manage their wardrobe via a little app on their phone. But in it is a whole set of lookbooks. So I have ladies who have going out evening outfits, they have daytime casual outfits. But they said, Lisa, that's great because I know that outfit suits me. That's going to work for that occasion, a bit like your public speaking, because there is nothing more empowering for a
Mm.
woman to go to something thinking, I look good. And do you know what? Isn't it nice when someone else then says, oh, you look nice, or I like that? Suddenly the confidence goes again. What I found is, and I've found this years ago, women are very bad at taking a compliment. So when
Oh,
someone says that, so if somebody stopped me in, I don't know, John Lewis, and they said, oh, I love your shirt, I've learned to say, thank you so much.
yeah.
That's really nice of you. I know ladies going back who would have said, someone have said, oh, I like your shirt. They might have said, oh, it's only Marks and Spencer's. But they don't
Yes.
go, do they? Oh, thank you very much. We need to be
Yeah.
able to take that compliment. But when you're wearing the clothes that you love and you feel good in, you're so right. You just have this inner confidence of, come on then, I'll take anything on because I feel good.
Well, let's go one step further then and pay it forward. As
Yeah, yeah.
women, we should be saying to other women, not just, oh, you look great today, but I absolutely love that purple blazer on you. I haven't seen that color on you before. You look amazing. Because I think when you're specific with a compliment, it's more believable.
Yeah,
We all say, oh, you look good. Oh, it's so great to see you look good. Well, that's just a little bit of blanket hogwash, isn't it? Because
yeah,
they might be like they've had no sleep for 3 nights. Who knows? But if you say, Lisa, I just, those green stripes on you, I just love it. Goes with your hair, looks really, really great. Love it. But I know for me, I store up those little genuine compliments. And when I look at that green stripy shirt, I think, oh, yeah, someone said I look really good in that.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to bring that forward in my wardrobe. So
Yeah.
we can all do that for each other. That's properly women supporting women in a kind way that costs absolutely nothing.
And that's where I think you find the people that you then want to be around from that perspective as well. I think that's how you build your kind of tribe around you, don't you?
Mm,
And I
mm.
think you're absolutely right to say, and I've been known to be like in the middle of Waitrose, and I've had my daughter with me, and I've said to her, oh, that lady's coat. And she'll like, don't go there. And I'll go up and I'll go, I really like your coat. And the
Mm.
lady will go, oh, thank you so much, while she's digging through the vegetables or something. And my daughter will say, why did you need to do that? Because she's younger. And I'm like, yeah, but she did have a nice coat. So I thought I'd tell her, and I think that's what's really lovely about, but there again goes the power of clothing. And this is where, yes, listen, I can get super excited about all types of clothes and accessories, but it shows you the power of clothes. They are not just something we throw on or our glasses, or it's about how we feel and how others see us, and how then you can relate to people and talk to people. A bit like when you said if you did your speaking gig, you wear something that you feel good in. If you wore something that you weren't, maybe, I don't know, maybe you didn't like the color or something, and you just thought, no, it's okay, it'll do. When you do that presentation, you won't feel as confident as the outfit that you love, that cobalt blue dress kind of
You'll
thing.
feel very grey. Look at examples like Prue Leaf.
Oh, yeah.
I know she wears a lot of Kettlewell colours. It's Prue Leaf from the necklace that she wears to the bright, bold, crazy colours she puts together. And she wears it with a plume, doesn't she? She wears it with such wonderful confidence. And I don't think I would wear that much colour personally, but I would put something on that was like a comfort blanket. There's like, almost a magnet for
Mm-hmm.
people to look at and think, oh God, those shoes are just amazing.
Mm,
The shoe, if you think you've got bat wings, or you think your midpoint is a little bit larger than it used to be, shoes it's like Patsy from AbFab, isn't it? You can never go wrong with accessories.
No, you can't. But what you're doing is that you're drawing yourself, you're drawing attention. Then, from my perspective, then we could go down this whole rabbit hole of personal branding, because it's a bit like, you don't have to like Prue Leaf's style, but you can admire it from afar.
Yeah,
So look
yeah.
how, what's really, really interesting, you picked her up as an example. You've talked about her colours, you've talked about her necklaces. So what she's done is made you remember her for what she's wearing. And
Mm.
that's what's so interesting. If I said to somebody now, give me an example of somebody you met in the supermarket or you passed in the supermarket that didn't look so good, you could do it. And give me the same example, but someone who looked good, you could do it. It could have been in the local coffee shop, but you always remember people for what they're wearing, potentially more than what they said initially. Because I'd met you and I don't know, you had a yellow handbag. I could have said, yeah, I met Michelle in the coffee shop. She had a really nice yellow handbag, as well as we had a really nice chat.
Mm.
So it's interesting, isn't it, how it all works regarding what we wear. And then it goes right the way back to this conversation we started about having the time and giving ourselves the permission to allow ourselves to wear the clothes that make us feel good.
Yeah, yeah. Embrace the next part of your life is what I would say, and don't don't just do what you've always done just because you've always done it. You
Mm.
know, now is our time to really embrace potential new starts, potential new ways of looking, and acknowledging that we don't look like we did when we're in our 20s, and to make the best of what we do look like so we do feel confident in whatever pathway we choose to continue the next few decades of our life, really.
And I totally, and that from a clothing perspective is where you can try something different. It goes
Mm,
exactly what you said. I've used a similar saying. If you've always done what you've always done, you're always going to get what you've always got. You know, embrace the fact of walking into a different store, having a look online at a different retailer, because that's where the magic happens. Because lots of ladies that I see, they say, I've always worn this style of trouser. I've always shopped in, I don't know, John
Debenhams or
Lewis.
whatever it was.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Or
exactly.
Debenhams, or I've always shopped in
Safe
M&S.
space.
Yeah, absolutely. So I say to people, no, you know what? Now's your time. You have nothing to lose by walking into a different store if you're in a high street or you're going to a shopping centre. You will walk in. It's really interesting, actually. If you think sometimes when you're on holiday, you'll always go into different shops because you're in a different location. Whereas sometimes when we're at home or local to where we live, we go to the same places, but we then
Mhm.
go in the same stores. And when I obviously that's some of the beauty I have the opportunity to show clients the different things in the different stores. And I've got ladies who say to me, I can't go in there. And I'm like, oh, yes, you can. I'll hold your hand. And that's where we can do different things that actually can make such a massive difference. Because,
Yeah, be adventurous.
yeah, be adventurous. And I think even from, like as we get older, we might need glasses like you have. And like I've got,
Oh,
yeah, look, and I've
I was
got
like,
my
shall I put them on or not?
yeah, yeah. And I've got mine, which are big and chunky, which is very much my personality. But it's then saying, well, do you know what? If I have got to wear glasses, I'm going to wear the ones that make me feel good. The times I've been into Specsavers and they've said to me, you are very tiny. You've got a small face. You need small frames. And I'm like, oh, no, no, no. Because I wouldn't wear them. I wouldn't wear them. I want to be big and bold and strong. And the times I sit on a train with my glasses, I put my glasses on and I've just got these amazing chains that sit on them. My
Oh
husband
yeah.
goes, really? But when I'm shopping with a client, I can't keep taking my glasses on and off now. So I thought, and my photographer, Amanda Clark, told me about them and she was wearing them. She said, Lisa, get them from Amazon. They're fab, but they're chunky. I am a little bit quirky anyway. And the amount of people that look at me on a train and I think, yep, my glasses. But isn't it? It's about
Yeah.
thinking, if I've got to wear glasses, I'm gonna wear the ones that I love. And
A
it still
statement.
comes, yeah, and it's that. So I think what we've spoken about today is very much about embrace the next part in your life, because actually it's super, super exciting. And I agree with you. I think, listen, my two are still at home, my children, but the type, but they're in and out like yo-yos. So my husband and I now can jump on the Elizabeth line and go into London because they both drive. So you haven't got to think about who you're picking up or whatever. So I think you're 100% right that the next stage, whatever stage we're at in life, is super exciting. You just have to kind of grab the ball by the horns and go for it, don't you?
Yeah, no time for a rehearsal, just go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we finish, because I've loved chatting to you, what have you got coming up on your podcast that, or some of the guests that some of my listeners can think, oh, I need to listen, because your conversations are like chit chat and it's brilliant. It's lovely. So who have you got coming up?
Thank you. Well, actually, tomorrow, I don't know when this is going out, but Cherry Healy is on. And I have to say, this has been one of my favorite conversations with anybody because, as I said, she was very honest about her body, positivity, negativity. But we talked about manifesting and law of
Mm.
attraction, because this is something I've always been interested in. And she is very, very passionate about it, and intentional living. So it's not a bad segue from what we've been talking about
Yeah.
is, set your intention. Who do you want to be seen as? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Make it happen. So she's a really great one. And then I've got Esther Stanhope, who's the
Oh.
impact guru. And she is wonderful in talking about, when you walk into a room and you think, oh God, I haven't got anybody with me, I'm on my own. Who do I talk to? What am I going to say? And it's like the PTA meetings or social
Mm-hmm.
events without a partner. And, instead of standing there and scrolling, or as I often do, I'll go to the bathroom like 6 times. People think I'm incontinent, I think, but I hate, that I don't
Yeah, yeah.
actually love big, crowded areas if I don't have somebody with me. So she just gives some really great tips and advice on what you're looking for in body language, so you know who's open to chat, how to quickly get some really interesting questions so that you can have that chat, and how to escape. I think that's quite
I
important
think
if
that's a really
it's not
important
going
one,
for
isn't
you.
it? I think
Yeah,
we've all been in that kind of situation thinking, God, how do I get out of this without being rude? Because we're all incredibly polite, aren't
yeah,
we?
yeah, very British of us. But sometimes you just need to, okay, this is not working for me, speed
Yeah.
date, and off you go. So I've got a few more things like that coming up. I've got some really interesting guests coming up in the fall as well. But I'm even exploring things like how wonderful bee products are for women. Propolis, royal jelly, helping us with sleep and calmness and cognition and immunity. Like because I'm solo now, I'm just going everywhere with this. Everything
Yeah.
that like, oh, bees really, and also because I have ADHD, I do tend to go like, oh, squirrel, that's interesting. So
Yeah.
I'll suddenly start focusing on a topic and researching it and sort of loving it. So yeah, loads of great things coming up, and it's always free. I think sometimes if people don't listen to podcasts, your listeners obviously do, but there's no subscription to it. It's not like
Mm.
Netflix or anything else. It's free, and I always try and keep them to about half an hour. So it's a dog walk or it's a
Yeah.
school run or something like that. And I'd love to just tell your listeners as well that I've got really wonderful, and I say wonderful not because I've written it, but it's a midlife library. And I'd love,
Okay.
Lisa, if you want to submit something to pop up there, that'd be wonderful. But on my website, twowomenchatting.com, there's a midlife library. You name it, it's about getting ready for the empty nest, meningitis jabs for your kids before they go off to college, looking your best, feeling your best, looking after your finances, um, having tweakments if that's what you so desire, all sorts of things. So that's on there. And what I really want to do is provide people with sort of inspiration and positivity and enthusiasm. So, would love if they joined me, followed me on Instagram at Two Women Chatting. And it'd
Yeah,
be wonderful. Thank you.
absolutely. Listen, it's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank
Absolute
you.
pleasure.
It's the really long podcast now, isn't it? I know.
I know, but listen, I think we could both chat. So listen, we just hope everyone's gone on a very long dog walk today because they can, or they can come back in bite-sized pieces. But
Yeah,
Michelle, thank you so much. Thank you
oh,
to
thank you, Lisa.
everybody who's taken the time to listen today. I hope you loved this podcast. Please go and follow Michelle. You will love her podcast too. Thanks to everyone for listening. If you haven't listened before, then we hope you've enjoyed this, and I will see you all next week. Thank you so much. Thanks, Michelle. See you later.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.